Welcome back to the Redraft Show, brought to you by the FFD Fantasy and Chev GPT. That's me. And we're here today to give you your sort of a playoff primer and your Week 14 necessities on the waiver wire. So without further ado, you know we always got to start with what we hit on in Week 13. And what we hit on in Week 13, Christian Watson, he came in, he was 38% rostered when we told you to roster him. Now he's still only 55% rostered. So you're telling me there's a chance. And I'm telling you to go pick up Christian Watson. I mean, this is good stuff. But again, we told you to pick him up in Week 13. So now if you're here in Week 14, like I said, there's still a chance. Then we had Adonai Mitchell. He was a post-waiver stash for us. He's the wide receiver 6 heading into Monday Night Football. And, you know, it's a good chance he finishes as a top 10 receiver on the week. And then Brenton Strange, do something strange for a little piece of change. Tight end 7 on the week. We told you. We talked about it on the wide receiver show. I think he's the number one option. And then Trevor Lawrence, your stream of the week at quarterback, finishes as the QB5 against my Tennessee Titans. But enough celebrating. That's over. That's over with. And now we're going to get into what we need to do and what we need to be looking at going into Week 14. So let's get into the running backs. And we'll start with Jordan Mason. We're going to check our waiver wires. These are guys that are slightly over 50% roster. Jordan Mason is 54% roster, and he's taking on the Commanders this week, and that spells success. You've got the Aaron Jones shoulder injury, and I think that, you know, he could get it together. Like, if they're going to move the ball down the field, it's going to have to come via the run and not the pass. We've established that, right? We understand that, right? Like, the Vikings passing attack, JJ McCarthy, has turned Justin Jefferson into prime Greg Dortch. No, because Greg Dortch has actually been good. Prime Darius Slate. Damn, Darius Slate's been better than. Anyway, it's been really bad for Justin Jefferson because of that passing attack. And all that to say, the running attack, you need to go ahead and stash Jordan Mason this week. So then it's silly season. You got people that are checking out. And as I was doing the research for this show, I looked at it and I was like, hey, let's just check and see if people completely quit Chuba Hubbard. So Chuba Hubbard currently on Sleeper. I had to double check this across a few leagues, a few redraft leagues. He's only 50% rostered and he's heading into a bye week. This is a generational buying opportunity. He had 120 yards and a touchdown. He's fully healthy from the calf injury. If he is not rostered in your league, please go pick him up. Again, Chuba Hubbard is 50% rostered on Sleeper currently. Please. And he's heading into a bye, which means more people might have to drop him in order to keep their playoff hopes alive in Week 14. So coming Week 15, you can stash Chuba Hubbard for a week. You know you're not going to get any points. That has turned into a full-blown committee. But if you're on the right side of it for the week, I'd feel confident and comfortable playing Chuba Hubbard. I'd play him over a guy like Bhayshul Tuten 10 out of 10. And I told you to pick Bhayshul Tuten up last week too. Now, here are some guys that are a little bit off the beaten path. We got Bam Knight, who we told you to roster last week. He's still only 41% rostered. I don't know what's going on with Trey Benson. So this makes this a tough evaluation for me. But I know one thing. When Bam Knight gets the ball, he makes things happen. And this is a positive. So really kind of pick your poison in that backfield. I think Amari DiMercato could come back and make this a complete mess. They have to activate Trey Benson or lose him for the year this coming week. So it could be Bam Knight and Amari DiMercato. And, you know, I'm going to place my bets on Bam Knight and Amari DiMercato. So do with that information what you will. Another guy. I told you, Bhayshul Tuten, 40% roster. We're in silly season. If you have Travis Etienne, you for sure need to have Bhayshul Tuten on your roster. This is a guy who has league winning upside if something happens to Travis Etienne. And then Chris Rodriguez is 42% roster. They're taking on the Vikings this week. And I was a Bill truther. Like I was sharing all the Bill Nye the Science Guy memes. It seems kind of messed up now, doesn't it? All right. It's like trusting a silent fart in a crowded elevator. Results may vary. But anyway, let's move on to some stashes some stashes for the masses. You got Malik Davis, Cowboys running back, taking on the Lions on Thursday Night Football. You could do worse. Like, we'll burn through these real quick. Ray Davis, 9% rostered versus the Bengals. You need to do that for sure. Then you got Keaton Mitchell, 7% rostered versus the Steelers. Yes, please. Then you've got Jerome Ford taking on the Titans. Injury to calf strain for Dylan Sampson. So the direct handcuff to Quinshon Judkins moving forward will be Jerome Ford, depending on the severity of the injury for Dylan Sampson. And then post-waiver stash, like I said, Xavier Scott, just in case Aaron Jones' shoulder injury is, a multi-week thing or limits the work. But let's move on to the wide receivers where we've got a lot of names. I've got a lot of names, so we'll go quickly through these. You've got Isaac Teslaa taking on the Cowboys. He's only 5% rostered. You've got the injury to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're playing on Thursday Night Football. This could be a blow-up spot, or it could be, it could be a boat for Isaac Teslaa. J-Mo, obviously, with all the injuries in the passing attack, becomes the alpha, and he could slide into that Jameson Williams, field stretcher, boundary X-wide receiver, Tim Patrick role. Then you've got Dontayvion Wicks. Megan Fox thumbs be damned. He comes out, balls out last week, 94 yards. He's only 3% rostered, and they're taking on the Bears this week. So they play a lot of single high, a lot of man coverage. Those are things that Dontayvion Wicks usually thrives against. So Christian Watson and Dontayvion Wicks are guys that I'm really interested in this week. Romeo Doubs is obviously, kind of just the guy that does stuff that you don't really ever account for, but then he just gives you a performance like he did against the Cowboys, and you're like, oh, he's awesome. But, hey, Dontayvion Wicks has figured maybe, I don't want to say it too loud because if I whisper it, maybe he doesn't realize that he's catching the football, and that's the superpower. It's like, he's just like, yeah, man, anyway. But then you've got Adonai Mitchell. I'm an Adonai Mitchell truther. He's taking on the Miami Dolphins this week. It's Christmas again. Adonai Mitchell has shown everything that you want to see from a guy that you want to be good at football. He's got all the tools. Enough said. Then you got 27-year-old Devaughn Vele taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's only 3% rostered. He went 8 for 93 in a touchdown this past week. Really, really, really think that this could be signal and not noise. I don't really know if they're moving away from, if they're going to move away from, the second target in the offense being Juwan Johnson. But, hey, let's just stash him, see what happens. And then, last but not least, Jayden Higgins. I'm a Jayden Higgins guy. I don't have to say a whole lot. 5 catches, 5 targets, 65 yards, second to only Nico Collins. We warned you on the dynasty side, and now it's happening. So, and then a couple post-waiver stashes. You got Pat Bryant versus the Raiders. He's only 5% rostered. Now, he went over 40 yards again, and it's on limited work, but you do have a Troy Franklin problem. You do have an Evan Ingram problem. You do have a Cortland Sutton problem. It's crowded, but if something happens and they're not able to, and they're not, and one of those names goes away, then all of a sudden it's a little bit clearer for the guy that Sean Payton called Michael Thomas. And then this one brings me a great deal of personal pride. Jalen Coker, 4 for 74 and a touchdown, the game-winning catch in the upset victory over the Rams in Week 13. You stash him, right? You stash him because he's good at football. Just do it, okay? Please. Please and thanks.
Underdog just dropped prediction markets, spreads, totals, and team outcomes. And the best part, you can combine them with player picks for bigger multipliers. Sign up today with code FFDynasty and make a $5 entry to get up to $100 in fantasy bonus entries. Prediction markets are now live in 25 states, including Texas, California, and Florida. And Underdog is available in over 40 states with player picks and draft games. Prediction markets, player picks, all on Underdog.
So then we'll move on to the tight end position. Pretty thin out there, but there's still a couple guys that I don't know what it is. You guys just not trust me? You think What are we doing? What are we doing? You got Harold Fannin Jr. He's only 55% rostered, but him and Shedeur have some sort of chemistry. I think this is a much softer spot, between the Titans and what they're going to potentially allow. This could be a breakout blow up spot if they're going to allow Shedeur to target Harold Fannin Jr. So check your waiver wire. He's 55% rostered. Then you've got Dalton Schultz taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. He's 47% rostered. He caught 7 passes this past week. It's been ultra reliable. Ultra reliable basically after the first month of the season is just catching passes. And then Brenton Strange. I do believe Brenton Strange is a league winner. Tight end 4 in week 12, tight end 7 going into Monday Night Football in week 13. I think that he's going to be the 1B in this passing attack. Parker Washington leaves the game. Brian Thomas Jr. is Brian Thomas Jr.ing. Get well soon. I really don't know. Like, he caught 2 passes. Jacoby Myers, contract year, bag season, is obviously functioning as the primary target. But this Brenton Strange, there's something going on there. He's helped me cope with my Tucker Craft grief. Number 85, out there moving around, doing cool stuff on a regular basis. Just keep an eye out. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Just keep an eye out. All right? And then here's some guys that you might stash away for week 15 because they have tremendous matchups. So you've got Isaiah Likely taking on the Cincinnati Bengals again, where, he was inches away from a monster game. I believe he had 5 catches and 95 yards. He should have had a touchdown, but hey, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But still, the Bengals are giving up the most points to the tight end position in the history of the NFL. So it could be a boat. And then A.J. Barner taking on the Colts. We just mentioned that Dalton Schultz had 7 catches last Sunday. Guess who those 7 catches were against? Who were they against, Chev? They were against the Indianapolis Colts. So I think A.J. Barner, with the tush-push thing that they try to do and potentially just the Colts being susceptible to the tight end position, this could be a nice play if you're desperate in week 15. But, chances are, if you made it that far, you have a solid tight end. And you're not going to need A.J. Barner. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, and I'm going to victory lap it if I get it right. So let's just not stand on ceremony and call it what it is. And then let's move on to the QB streamers. So we told you last week, we're going to tell you again. We're going to stream Trevor Lawrence against the Colts. He's 48% rostered. He was a quarterback 5 this past week. He's been a quarterback 1 in 3 of the last 4 matchups, I believe. And again, he's using his legs. He's got the rushing upside. He's acclimating to this Liam Cohen thing, and this could be really good. It's not good from a real football perspective, but for fantasy, it's good enough. So Trevor Lawrence, 48% roster versus Colts. Then some deeper desperation options for week 14. You've got Tyrod Taylor taking on oh, wow. That's a whole lot of T's in a little bit of time. Alliteration aside, Tyrod Taylor is taking on, I did it again. All right. Taking on the Miami Dolphins. He's 6% rostered. It was positive. And part of the reason he's on this list is because he's figured out how to get the ball to A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell can make or break your week on one play. He's just like his old teammate, Alec Pierce, but Alec Pierce has proven to be a little bit more reliable. And that's why A.D. Mitchell's in New York, but that's a different story for a different day. And then last but not least, you got Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck, 11% roster, taking on Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers are a pass funnel defense. They can't stop anything right now. So I know, if you watch the kicker and defense video, I know we told you to stream the Bucs, but, you can still get a couple turnovers and it still be pretty good. We saw Miami be a fruitful defense against them. So Tyler Shuck can put up points and you still can get, you can get home with playing the defense against him. And then last but not least, this is a playoff stash. So CJ Stroud gets the Cardinals in week 15. We need to be paying attention to that. He's only 38% rostered. So if you got a guy that's kind of a fringe guy and you're not really sure, if you got Jacoby Brissett, we're just going to ride or die with Jacoby Brissett. But if you're desperate, you can go get CJ Stroud, stash him away this week. They're taking on the Chiefs this week, which the Chiefs just got lit up by Dak Prescott. But that's Dak Prescott, Rain Dakota Prescott's Rain Dakota Prescott. So, but week 15, CJ Stroud taking on the Cardinals. Don't thank me now. Thank me when it hits. So if you made it this far, thank you for liking, downloading, subscribing. I can't believe that it's week 14 already, and we're gearing up for the fantasy playoffs. Let me know who I missed. If there's somebody that you wanted me to cover, always reach out to me on the Twitter X. DMs are open. Don't DM me any weird stuff though, please. I guess. If I say please, will you not do it? I don't know how all that works. But like I said, go follow me on the Twitter X. There's a link tree called the Quantum of Chevis where everything I'm working on. And go download the League Champ app. I won that beautiful jersey, and I got another one on the way for being the most accurate ranker on the platform. So, as I always leave you, there's ball watchers and ball knowers. I'll see you in the running backs episode. Peace.